But then, of course, with everything that's going on, we can also, I also saw that love within these complicit environments is completely empty of its meaning, and it's just conditional. So yeah, I was also, that's why I also decided to boycott the conference. And also just to say, I'm in a country that's even more complicit, like the German Sociological Association today has even condemned the response by ISA. And just to say that as well, also before I talk about my project. So yes, I'm going to share just a little bit of my project today, my PhD project, which also relates to these questions of love and internationalism. So right now it's called Effective Internationalism and the Politics of Revolutionary Love in Spite of Systemic Violence. And I'm also starting with this quote by the Palestinian artist Avish Kaout, who says that resistance is the deepest form of love. And probably we know this quote, and it's been seen in many demonstrations as well, that really shows how the importance of love in these solidarity protests, and the Palestinian movement has even more highlighted this. Also, to explain a bit, the starting point of my project is, I was already for many years interested in solidarity movements, and I was looking more at the climate movement in Germany, but then when I saw that they are completely silent on the genocide, and there's this selective solidarity going on, and even when it comes to decoloniality, suddenly it doesn't apply anymore, and their solidarity is limited when it comes to Palestine. So I decided to focus on those movements who are actually resisting this. And I saw that the internationalist feminist movements in many places, such as London or Berlin, have been actually the first to organize the big solidarity protest for Palestine. And they've been the most, of course, in collaboration with local Palestinian groups, have been really consistent and really highlighting the solidarity against all the repression that's going on. So yes, my thesis explores revolutionary love within internationalist movement, and to what extent also this relates to prefigurative practice of movement building. And in general, it also argues for a deeper understanding of emotions as transformative tools against systemic violence and alienation. And I'm mostly drawing from decolonial feminist and social movement theories, exploring love, not just as a universal good, but as a contested, ambivalent force embedded in everyday negotiations of solidarity, need, and power. And the main guiding questions of this research are: how do activists use love and desire as prefigurative experiences and revolutionary acts of everyday life? And how do these bonds translate into internationalist solidarity? Okay, so I'm going to share a few thoughts that I had on the concept of love, how I use it in this thesis. So yes, already 100 years ago, the revolutionary Colin Tai has explored love as a deeply social and political force. And her idea of love goes beyond this idea of the biological family as this exclusive or egoistic category, and more towards this idea of a family of workers. So other than just being a private affair between two individuals, love, in her view, harbors a unifying aspect that holds value for the collective. And at the same time, she also recognized that it holds the potential to promote emancipatory relationships for women and other oppressed genders. So also building on this materialistic analysis, Rosemary Hennessy also argues for love as a response to the systemic production of unmet needs under capitalism. because therefore emotions such as depression or loneliness that we feel in the world today, they also show us what's wrong, and emotions also point us to how we need to change. So this longing for love and connection. And Hennessy also reminds us that ignoring personal affective bonds in favor of a purely collective approach would not only be dishonest but politically detrimental. So in the thesis I'm also looking at this, of these complexities of love within feminist movements, and these boundaries also between the erotic, platonic and revolutionary feelings, and how this influences political organizing and also our attachment to the future. And what I think is also important to point out, also responding a bit to the title of our panel, as Sarah Ahmed argues, love is not synonymous with justice, because the politics premised on love can sometimes also demand emotional conformity, or it can also cancel dissent. So we need to be careful that this sentimental politics of love as an ideology can obscure hierarchies and lead to more exclusions, and doesn't always account for the unequal terms in which we engage with each other. So I still argue that solidarity organizing always involves an emotional attachment and feelings of love and desire that also move activists to relate their struggles beyond their immediate context. But other than idolizing them, we need to understand the complexities of these emotions and also beyond strategic thinking. And I think it's important to point out that these practices of friendship, comradeship and love have long been shaping social movements, and especially feminist movements, and how they build solidarity. So, for example, the Combahee River Collective describes love as this profound commitment to one another that makes survival itself a political act. And also with the Kurdish concept of Hirati, it's a term that connotes this profound friendship as a radical mutual responsibility among the women guerrillas in Rojava. And this friendship also challenges the internalized patriarchal and individual mindsets that each of us still hold by relating them to each other, and insisting on the emotional and material investment in one another's well-being, even under conditions of war and displacement. And so these traditions of this lived solidarity and political friendship, they highly resonate with the contemporary Palestinian solidarity movement, where political friendship often emerges through these acts of witnessing, of feeling together, and simply refusing to look away. Okay, I can try to speak louder and more softly. Okay. We hope you understand something, but I guess I'll just keep going. So yes, as the European Legal Support Center shows, police repression during internationalist protests in Europe have increased dramatically in the last years, and also since the genocide, particularly also targeting those that really point out these interconnections of violence and complicity. So yes, the movement in solidarity with Palestine has been an example in embodying the struggle politics that fights imperialist capitalist violence by calling out the complicity of the Western states in the Zionist enterprise. And beyond that, it has shown the importance of creating these strong networks of solidarity across movements to expose the normalization of violence. Yes. And these forms of solidarity are not only held together by obligation, but by a sense of care and love that insists on collective liberation. They are not just these effective alignments, but they are constituted through what Judge James calls a radical risk-taking for justice. So this can be seen when activists, for example, during protests, face police repression and violence, and where love is expressed through these actions of mutual support and of affection, so of helping each other when one gets detained or injured, by building barricades together, or simply by giving each other a long hug as emotional support.